Hello, you've got David Robbins here, product leader for our offshore subsea wellheads, and I've got Phil Potter, who's our product engineer, along with me. And we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about our Subsea Connect TV lightning talk rounds. Here we're going to talk a little bit about our technology. Phil, we've been doing a lot of interactions with our customers on the MS-2, but for those that may have not seen some of those meetings or interactions, in a couple minutes, can you explain all the testing we've done on this seal to prove out the great performance and endurance?
Yeah, absolutely. The MS-2 seal, it really came about as a need in the industry, or want in the industry, to elevate the performance of the seal. So in particular, highlighting on the combined capability for pressure from below and Annulus lockdown. So part of the test regime that we went through was to essentially mimic the API or traditional API 17D requirements, which would be an API 6A test, a PR2F test on the Annulus seal, along with some lockdown cycles. Then what we wanted to do is really elevate the performance of that seal, creating this pedigree associated with it. The test program essentially looked into extended cycles, in this case 200 load cycles of Annulus load from below, with intermittent pressure tests as we went through, and then an extended envelope test where we actually took the seal to 10% over rated pressure and rated Annulus load for that combined cycle. So throughout this program, it was all gas testing. If I start on the cycle testing, like I mentioned, it was a total of 200 cycles, of which every 20th cycle we would do a pressure test. And that was all done at ambient temperatures right up to the 200th cycle. On that 200th cycle, we bumped it up to 350 degrees and did a hot test, gas test, to verify that piece of the test program. Once we finished that, we went into an envelope test. That was essentially combining the max load and max pressure at the same time. So in this case, it was actually 2.2 million pounds and 11 KSI. Created that corner point in this chart and essentially filled in the dots, if you like, around the actual envelope in what the performance of the product was. So as you caught on there, I probably said that the 2.2 million pounds and the 11 KSI. So we ended up with a rated 20 KSI PR2 tested seal, rated to 10,000 PSI from below, and combined at the same time with 2 million pounds.
Great. We did a lot of beyond requirement tests as well. So what were some of the extreme conditions we were able to hit with that seal?
What's important here is the distinction that API required, I wouldn't say minimal testing, but it's the PR2 test in 3 times cycles. So that extended envelope, the extended cycles, was really pushing the boundaries of what an Annulus seal needs to do today. But as part of the test program, we took it even further, right, to your point, with some extreme testing or survival testing. Some of those loads we actually got to, we put 17,000 PSI underneath the seal. At that point, is where the seal gave up. So it really shows you've got this margin from 10K from below up to 17K. So even though we're operating down here, the capability of the seal is much higher. Once we learned from that, we actually put some additional testing on there. We did a pressure hold at 15,000 PSI from below for pressure only. And then we also did the same thing. We did a combined extreme load where we took it from, ultimately we got to 13,500 PSI and 2.7 million pounds combined load. And that was the last hold that we were able to achieve. So really, we put the seal through a lot of testing. And not just this seal, there were 2 primary seals essentially. We're calling them the MS-2U and the MS-2L for an upper and lower seal. And it's phenomenal performance, phenomenal testing. We're really pleased and really happy with what we've been able to achieve.
Great. And you mentioned the API testing. I believe API is going to come out with some new updates for seal testing. How does our program of testing compare to what's probably going to be coming out?
Yeah, and eventually it'll be coming out in API. So yeah, the committee's really concentrating on getting the 3rd edition of 17D released. Once we've done that, then there's an annex or an informative annex that we are started to create, which is essentially going to capture a lot of the testing that we did. And it's a way to standardize the industry on what those elevated performance is going to be. When it comes down to what that's finally going to look like compared to what we did, I mean, we would have exceeded what API is finally going to settle on. And there's some major differences right now as between gas testing that we did versus maybe hydro testing in API, for example, the number of cycles that you actually achieve in the test, whether you do that test on 1 seal or 2 seals. So some of that information is still in the process of being hashed out in the industry. But for all intents and purposes, when this comes out, it's our test regime is going to exceed what API has. Yes.
Great. One thing customers always talk about is confidence, field proven technologies. Talk a little bit about how we've been able to leverage existing technologies and really just evolve that into an enhanced seal solution.
Yeah, no problem. So we actually go in a lot more detail on this. If you go to bakerhughes.com, Subsea Connect TV, there's a link that we have to a fireside chat that I had with Ivan Winspool, and it goes into a lot more detail on the seal. But to answer your question, if you're familiar with MS style sealing, it's very similar to what we do for every style of MS seal across the board. Right? It's very simple technology. It's an energizer ring that essentially gets pushed into a U-cup, expanded, and gets the seal. So the sealing part is no different in technology for what we've been doing since the early 90s. What we did take, though, is how we paired the seal, some of our other technology in our business to really custom design a solution to do exactly what we needed it to do. So in this case, we took the seal has a lock ring to achieve the higher loads that we require in the seal. That's taken from our lockdown hangers. Our internal tiebacks have similar technology. There's two real key things of clever technology in the seal. One is what we call a compliant actuator. So it's essentially a mechanism that allows us to get a tolerance set in the seal, in the actual system. That's taken from our Pool Bore 2 legacy technology that we have in Pool Bore 2, as I mentioned. It's been used in subsea tiebacks again. So again, it's nothing new, just the way that we packaged it together. And then the only other piece I was going to mention here was about the running tools. We actually introduced some safety or some additional feedback that we get on our running tool when we set it. So it's all about the knowledge, the guarantee that you're going to be in the right position when you set the seal. So we've introduced this overpull check in the tool where you only get this overpull check when the seal is landed and in the pocket and in the right place. So again, it gives you that confidence that when you go to set the seal, you're going to get the performance that you expect out of the seal assembly.
No, that's fantastic. And again, I think we've got the full metal backup seal. So we've tested both primary and backup seals with this technology. So look, lots of great things going on. We're very excited about this technology. I think Phil mentioned before, right? You can get more information at bakerhughes.com/Subsea Connect TV. So appreciate your time and look forward to having you out on our website and learning more about our products. Thank you.